Hi, my name is Joanna Benya. I am an anatomy and physiology tutor, and I'm sponsored by the Office of Student Success. Today I'm going to do a quick review of the endocrine system. It works to maintain homeostasis of the body, and the system works with glands that secrete hormones, and they are released into the bloodstream, and they have a specific target, and they cause a specific reaction. So one of the main parts of the endocrine system is the hypothalamus. It is located in your brain in a region that's really hard to get to. It's in the very center. And one of the areas that it targets is your pituitary gland, which has an anterior and posterior region. The hypothalamus itself is controlled by a feedback mechanism. So it registers hormones in the blood, and this will cause it to either secrete another hormone or send a nerve impulse to cause a reaction. So for example, low levels of growth hormone will trigger the hypothalamus to secrete growth hormone releasing hormone. And that in turn has another target. Growth hormone releasing hormone targets the anterior pituitary gland, which will then secrete growth hormone. And growth hormone itself is a hormone that targets all the cells of your body except the sex cells, because it's going to stimulate mitosis and promote long bone growth. And sex cells go through meiosis, not mitosis. So in anatomy and physiology too, there is a chart that you have to make, basically going over all the hormones and where they're secreted from and what their target is and what was the source of control. So an example of this would look like right below, where it has the gland, which is the hypothalamus, hormone, which is the growth hormone releasing hormone. The target and action is the anterior pituitary gland to secrete growth hormone, and the source of control for the hypothalamus is the feedback mechanism. And then below, for the anterior pituitary gland, it is growth hormone that it secretes, and the target is all the cells of the body to promote growth, and the source of control was the growth hormone releasing hormone. So the hypothalamus is really important. It's a major player in the endocrine system, because if you get a hormone, even if it wasn't secreted from the anterior pituitary gland, chances are what happens is there was another gland that secreted another hormone that targeted another gland to secrete, another hormone or cause a reaction, and that anterior pituitary or posterior pituitary are controlled by the hypothalamus. So the hypothalamus is important. It targets the anterior pituitary and the posterior pituitary. The posterior is called the neurohypothesis because it's controlled by nerve impulses from the hypothalamus, and it holds two hormones that the hypothalamus produces, and it sends a nerve impulse and causes the posterior pituitary gland to secrete those hormones. While the anterior pituitary is called the adenohypothesis as well, because it is controlled by hormones that are released by the hypothalamus instead of a direct nerve signal, and it makes its own hormones. So the posterior pituitary, basically the hypothalamus will trigger a nerve impulse due to feedback. So for example, high levels of progesterone in the blood will cause the hypothalamus to send a nerve impulse to the posterior pituitary gland to release oxytocin, which targets uterine muscles, smooth muscle, and mammary glands, and it causes the uterine muscles to contract, which the outcome will be labor and delivery, and then the mammary glands will be promoted to eject milk. So an example of what the chart will look like for that would be the hypothalamus is the gland, the hormone, it's not a hormone, it's a nerve impulse, and the target or action is the posterior pituitary, And the source of control is the feedback mechanism. And then for the posterior pituitary, the hormone that it will secrete is oxytocin, and then the target in action is the uterine smooth muscles, contractions, and the mammary gland is the milk ejection, and source of control was a nerve impulse. So the important thing to remember at the very beginning of Anatomy and Physiology 2, when you start to go over the endocrine system, is to ask yourself 4 questions to simplify it for you. You're going to say, where are you from? So that'll tell you what gland the hormone comes from. Who are you? What's the hormone? What do you do? What is the target and the action of the hormone? And why are you here? What is the source of control? What caused the gland to secrete this hormone? And that's it. I hope it simplifies the endocrine system for you, because it was a really long chart that I made when I first took it. See, it's huge. Again, my name is Joanna Peña, and I am a tutor for Anatomy and Physiology, and I'm sponsored by the Office of Student Success.